Starting to rain. Um, Maybe it was like 2 years ago by now. I don't even know. But when I started changing and I started realizing that I wanted to be something different, my first reaction was to start blaming other people. I started thinking, oh, other people are the reason I'm not happy. So I wrote letters to my aunts, both sides of my family, and it was basically an identical letter, and it said the same thing. It said the things that I disliked about them, and both of them were like very like aggressive, kind of like matriarchal family figures, and I perceived them as a threat, and as a child was afraid of their aggressiveness, and even had some sort of experience with the one aunt that was psychologically complex for someone who was 8 years old. But I don't want to get into that right now. But essentially, it was an issue of willpower. Uh, but in the end, I wrote the letter because I felt that it was their fault that I was dissatisfied or whatever. And if someone's not happy or if someone has a hard life, why would anyone choose, or why would anyone even believe that they were doing it to themselves? Therefore, it's completely natural to assume that somebody else is the one who's accountable for your misery or dissatisfaction. And I chose the two people that influenced and molded my character more than any others when I was young. At least in a way that I perceived as threatening. Lots of people influenced me when I was young, of course. But these two characters really tested my impression of free will. So I wrote a letter that didn't really make much sense, and maybe I'll post the letter, maybe I'll share it. But a lot of what I do doesn't make sense, and I forget that I'm lost in my own mind, and I really depend a lot on the language of dreams for information and wisdom, and I sometimes forget that other people don't think or see that way and may not have the ability to translate that language into digestible forms. So I'll say things that I think are common sense or that make sense to me, and then people just look at me like I'm a lunatic and I'm just talking, babbling nonsense. So that there was that element of the letter that I sent. But the real moral, or the real lesson, of the letter for all of us was the concept of blame, where I saw them as victimizing me, and then when I wrote that letter and told them that they had made a victim out of me, that they felt I was victimizing them. So it was like a paradox, or like it was me saying, or the child inside of me saying, why did you hurt me? And then it was them responding with, why did you hurt me with that letter? So I wrote the letter, and there was a part of me that was like, right before I put it in the mailbox, there was a part of me that says, are you sure you want to go through this door? Are you sure you want to do this? And then I said to that voice, I don't believe in hesitation anymore. I'm not afraid of the consequences of my choices. How can I know what is right and what is good and what is acceptable if I am afraid to find out. This was something that was on the fence for me, and if I'm uncertain, I have to make a decision. It doesn't mean my decision is right, but I can't stay uncertain. So if I do something that is wrong or that is unacceptable, I can fix it and repair it or change something in order to make it okay. But I still have to make the choice, even if I don't know exactly what I'm doing at the time. I will learn with my mistakes. The day that the letter arrived, and it was opened and read, it was just like a can of worms. Like, family was freaking out. They were all afraid. They thought I was like a psycho or something, and were afraid that I was gonna kill somebody, which, I forget how other people think sometimes, so I can understand why I would appear that way. But I remember I had some sort of like spiritual, like telepathic like contact with with JFK in the time before the event, and I worked at a frame shop when I did this, and I remember the day that the letter arrived. I walked into the back room of the frame shop, and somebody was, one of the coworkers was framing a picture of JFK that was, actually I think it was Norman Rockwell's portrait of JFK, and I saw it, and it was just like him and his spirit, and I felt his intelligence talking to me, and it was like, it was just saying like, I'm here, or like I understand, or this is the consequence of your decision, like this is what's happening. And I don't remember if it was before or after, but I specifically made a Ouija board out of a table that I used to contact his spirit, because he just kept popping up, and it just seemed like he needed to talk to me, or he was trying to say something. And I'm not like a fan of JFK. Like, some people are obsessed with, the whole story and the conspiracy theory, and him as a figure, a historical figure, an icon. Like, I don't care. Like, he's just a guy. But the fact that he kept appearing, I just knew that he was trying to communicate with me. So I made this Ouija board table from scratch, and maybe I'll put a picture of it right here. And when I talked to him, he had like nothing to say. It was like being, okay, first of all, he didn't know that he was dead, because the question that I proposed to him was, how can you communicate truth without dying, or without being martyred? How can you communicate truth if truth is on the other side, if truth is found in death? How can you bring it through to the other world without dying? And the only answer I could think was martyrdom. Like, it's just this state of like perpetual death, where your death like lasts forever and echoes through eternity. I know that there's another answer, and it's much more complex than I can put into words. But at the time that I communicated with him, I was asking him, since I knew that he was on the other side in the world of truth, I was asking him if there was a way, and I was trying to learn from his mistake of being martyred. And he didn't know he was dead, which confirms my theory that there's an infinite amount of universes, and everybody can have whatever they want. They just have to switch the universe that they're in and go into another one. So who knows? Maybe he's still president in his universe or whatever. He didn't know he was dead, and he was actually surprised that I asked him as if he was dead. And then when I asked him how to communicate truth, he kept calling me like V as in the character from V for Vendetta, which, you know, I'm not claiming to be that person. I'm not claiming to be like anonymous or anything like that, but it was like the thing in our like telepathic conversation. It was like the thing that he could reference in my mind that was closest to the answer I was asking for. And it was like a righteous and anonymous energy. And he was saying, like, if that's what I want to be, like, that's how you do it. You got to do what's right without getting credit for it. And that means not being in the limelight. So anonymity is an important ingredient for expressing truth. Because once the ego gets involved, then there's the danger of confusing the letter of the law with the essence of its meaning. Because the letter of the law is the face, and the face is a mask, and the essence of its meaning is its spirit. And once you start tangling the visual, condensed expression of truth with the infinitely complex idea and ever-evolving idea of truth, that's when all hell breaks loose. And when somebody wants to get credit for the hard work or the good work that they've done, it becomes a situation of worship instead of community. It becomes like, worship me and what I've done, instead of help the universe evolve and become a better place. We're all in this together. Nobody needs credit. The ego will destroy all of us.